A wonderful good day and a warm welcome to a new and another video today focusing on the ZL350, though you could also refer to it as the 6.42 since that's the engine type. Initially, my plan was simply to replace the coolant reservoir because the bracket holding it in place had broken. And then I thought to myself, why not turn this into a video to show you exactly where you can drain the coolant if you're working on a Mercedes with the 6.42 engine or a C-Class model? It's a handy tip for anyone tackling similar maintenance tasks, and it might save you some time and effort. So basically, replacing the coolant reservoir, draining the coolant, bleeding the cooling system. I'll show you really simply where the possibility is on the ZL to drain the coolant, and if any info video, you can actually gather a lot from the forum. In principle, there's not much to explain or show, it's quite straightforward, but I'll take you along step by step, and if there are any questions or uncertainties, we can just clear them up in the comments section below. And yeah, coolant or whatever issue you might be dealing with, this should help make things easier for you to handle. These parts here tend to break easily. And then it's just loose in here. That's why we're replacing the entire pot. I'm not going to drain the coolant right now, even though there's the option to do it. It's not necessary at this stage, but it's good to know we could if we needed to, just to stay informed, keep everything up to date, and ensure it's properly maintained. For those who want to try doing it themselves or feel confident enough. By the way, I've already removed the cover. Just to show the plastic cap. And what is this thing? It's a 250 model from 2009, 165 kilowatts, as I already mentioned, the OM642. The engine that's the main focus of our discussion here. That's why I'd say let's quickly switch the coolant reservoir. I'd say let's get started right away. I think we'll manage to swap it out pretty fast in speed mode. Now, let's carefully take off the thick hose here. I'll squeeze this part tightly to ensure that none of the coolant spills out. Unfortunately, there was a rubber part missing, where the bracket goes in, but here's that part. If you now wanted to change the coolant or would like to change it, I'll show you exactly where you can drain the water out of the car's cooling system. We're currently under the car, on the left side of the radiator, and I'll zoom in a bit closer for you there. There's the plastic plug. You can either take it out entirely or simply unscrew it, depending on what you need. And down here the water should drain out. I recommend taking it out completely. Yes, sometimes the issue is that the part is either completely stuck or it can also break off. You have to be careful with that, so handle it with care. See? Yes. There it sits, and then the water runs out of the radiator, and then you have the option to either pressurize the hose or the coolant reservoir, so with flaps. Press it in with an air gun and then you'll get another good liter out when you've drained your coolant. I checked, so I'll put the link below from Manol or Liqui Moly, I'm not sure which. It's actually an oil finder, but it works just as well for locating coolant leaks or checking the system for any issues that might need attention. Oil guide, but you can also check out the coolant section to see which suitable coolant you can pour into your cooling system. You can also mix them together so the colors can essentially be blended. I decided to go with AG13, which is already pre-mixed, and then just pour it in. The good thing is, if coolant has leaked, you can effortlessly rinse it away using just water. So what does it mean that they can be mixed? You should still mix the appropriate ones, but I think blue and green can be mixed. Red has to go back into red again. That's roughly how it works. But nowadays there are various colors available from different manufacturers. That's why you should compare them and ideally always do a coolant fluid change. Or if you know which coolant was used, simply put the same one back in again. That would be important. But what's crucial is that it's at minus 40 degrees. Oops. Once you've done your repair on the vehicle, so on the cooling system, whether you've replaced the thermostat, whether you've taken off some hose, changed the coolant, or replaced the coolant reservoir, as we did in this case. Now, there are essentially 2 ways to bleed the coolant, or more specifically, 3 different methods for handling the process. Either heat it up, push it hard, work it through. Get the temperature really hot, fan at full power, blower running at maximum speed, and heat the engine up until the fan finally kicks in and starts cooling the entire system effectively. Takes a while. Not the best option, but it's still doable, or BMW. Often includes bleed screws that let you vent the cooling system properly. That means letting it warm up, loosening the screw, bleeding it. With that one or with Mercedes we rarely have that, or not at all. That means, and then there's the option to do the whole thing using vacuum pressure. Is that the proper way to do it? And I'm going to demonstrate exactly how it's done right now. We'll go ahead and do it here. I drained a bit of coolant even though we only swapped the reservoir and didn't actually carry out a full coolant replacement. I detached a hose so that you can see everything very clearly. What's the advantage we have? If we do this under vacuum, it happens bubble free. Then we don't have to heat it anymore and the engine becomes ready for use right away. I don't recall all the benefits. Bubble free, fast. Any other advantages? Drop it in the comments below if you know all the details. With vacuum, it doesn't pull the coolant, but it pulls air out of the entire cooling system, out of the entire cooling circuit, and that's the cool part about it. And oh yeah, one more advantage when we do it with vacuum. We can instantly verify whether the cooling system is airtight. That's the most critical aspect of it. First, we create a vacuum in the system, and then we carefully observe whether it maintains the vacuum over time. If it doesn't hold, it means there's a leak. We don't need to fill the system. In that case, there's already some coolant in there, but if you, for instance, carry out engine maintenance. So, to cut a long story short, we grab the correct adapter and push it up here firmly, So this whole thing here is for the XXL Automotive. I've had this set for quite a while now. Everything's linked down below for you. So here's what it looks like. I think we've already shown this in a few videos. There's really something for all kinds for the Japanese. Everything, Opel, Ford, Mercedes, VW, it's all in there. And can you basically apply pressure to all of it if you want to test it, or using vacuum? The part is usually in here. You can create a vacuum and either vent it out completely or test the entire system thoroughly. We just take the right adapter and attach it securely in place. So we carefully apply pressure once it's properly attached and securely sealed tight in its correct position and ready for testing. We're going to operate two levers here. To do. The air pressure gauge is at 0. Now we're pushing this pin to activate it properly here. And open it, though it's building. So set it wrong, close it, and now it's closed. We'll then open it up, so we've got vacuum pressure on it now. I'll zoom in for you, so in the yellow zone we can carefully check to ensure it stays in there and doesn't drop at all. If the vacuum pressure were to drop, it would mean that we've got a leak somewhere. So importantly, this is how we control the airflow here, making sure it passes through, and with this we regulate the vacuum pressure, ensuring it's generated. So that air can essentially exit here, and by doing so, it essentially creates the vacuum pressure. Now, since we've established a vacuum in the system, we need cooling water, which we essentially supply to compensate and balance out the resulting pressure difference. You can see it up here. Yeah. We can now, I've already taken a look at everything before, and now we can. The lever, we can go ahead and open it up fully, and then it shoots the cooling water in there, where there was air before. Bam. It's going through in no time. And under pressure it falls, of course. And now he's pulling it through like this. It's recommended to use a larger container. I hope this is enough. So yeah. Just gotta help it along with some water. Wait, and now it's pulling through like this. That's it then. And we basically don't need to heat the motor anymore. Don't need to do anything else. The system is completely bled. Because it basically takes it before and after the thermostat. Yeah. That's it then. Can we just unplug everything here? Close it all up. Yes guys, and so bleed the cooling system, or more specifically, replace the coolant reservoir. But that will probably be less interesting to most people. Otherwise, as I mentioned earlier, there are essentially 3 methods I know of to properly bleed a cooling system. Either heat it up with the bleed screws or, apply a vacuum system. As I said, you can also bleed the system using a vacuum with the cars, with the engines that have bleed screws. You can do the whole thing that way too. Yes, feel free to share your thoughts down below in the comments about the cooling system, coolant, and bleeding process. Who has experience with it? Positive or negative experiences with it, or with all the other issues like overheating and dealing with the bleed screws? Share your thoughts with us. Yeah, otherwise, that's what it looks like. I hope the video has helped you and you liked it. If so, leave a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. Until next time, take care, bye.